nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Everyone deserves to earn, and every child deserves to learn.
Not being provided school facilities that were conducive to learning and that were a threat to health and safety. So in the settlement, the state agreed to spend up to $800 million to repair facilities that are a threat to health and safety.
Students are entitled to an environment that makes them feel safe, an environment that makes them feel comfortable, an environment that makes them feel human, an environment that allows them to learn in whatever way that they learn. If they need to move around a little bit in between different activities, then there needs to be a space that accommodates for that. Students are entitled to a comfortable, safe, clean environment.
Schools with affluent student population like Beverly Hills and El Segundo are able to access to what they are entitled. However, poor students of color only seem to have access to this.
Man, what happened to us? Geographically, they moved us from Africa. We was once happiness pursuers. Now we backstabbing, combative, and abusive.
If we think about this concept of social reproduction, what are the gates? Like, you go to some schools and there are no gates, right? What are the gates really for, and why are they only in certain communities, right? But it's everywhere in the aesthetic of, you know, South Central and South LA. It's like bars everywhere, and so where else are there bars, right? In prisons. And
there's some schools that feel like that feel more like prisons and look more like prisons than they look like schools that are gated in.
Gompers is gated, Drew is gated, Bret Hart is gated. You know, the elementary schools are gated.
I think if somebody put a huge fence around your house, that you would feel the difference. You
Right.
feel like a caged animal versus being free.
I mean, we live like we're in jail a lot of times. That's real. That's a real thing.
It's difficult to feel to be in a learning, quote unquote, mindset when you physically feel imprisoned or institutionalized.
They don't see it so much as wanting to keep kids in. They almost see it as wanting to keep the outside world out. But I also think it's because they're not forming connections with the community.
LA High itself is kind of like, it's isolated from the community.
I do feel safe in school, but once I'm walking home, it's another story, man.
I know somebody that died, I'll be afraid to like walk outside or something, because I'll feel the same thing. Like if I walk where he walked or I walk somewhere similar, I might die.
It's push, get out, go home. They'll announce over the PA system, if you don't leave, 15 minutes afterwards, if you don't leave, you'll be subject to arrest.
I have a hard time with seeing police come on campus and kids leaving in handcuffs, that kind of thing. I think that's horrible.
Understand that that's what it looks like, that's what it feels like, and that it is not welcoming, and as a result it affects your access to the education that they're supposed to make sure you get, because it's your right under the Constitution.
What are the conditions that accompany schools that look and feel like prisons?
As long as it's clean and you have a toilet that flushes, you know, and you have doors in the toilet stalls and those things, and you know the fire alarms work and all that, that you need to keep you safe, then the structure of the building should be secondary.
What first comes to mind is how much the community actually cares about the high school. So I think that when you come to a school and it's all broken down, you start thinking that, wait, nobody cares.
It's in a word, it's pretty dirty.
There's a really strong smell of dead mice. The mice are extremely bold. They'll run out in the middle of class.
This last school that I was at was actually a converted factory. So we had no windows, you know, narrow hallways. It was literally a factory, and it looked like a factory even though it was a school.
I've gotten kind of used to it. It feels weird though. It really, you don't know what the day looks like. You just felt stir crazy.
It's freezing in our school. We don't have a heating system. Some of the classrooms are like 100 degrees.
You get those big classes, they're packed in a small room. Oh, it's terribly sweating. And
They say the food is nasty, so they don't like what's being served.
Because it is nasty. You know, I wouldn't want to eat it. I wouldn't want my child to eat that food.
It's garbage. The food is garbage. It's frozen. It's flown in from some faraway place a week or two prior to the serving date.
To be honest, I don't think nothing make me eat this food.
It's okay, but it should put more like healthier stuff.
They need to connect to someone, but then they also need something that they care about and love that brings them to school every day.
There's this idea that we need to be stripped away, right, and rebuilt into this sort of model of what it means to be a white middle class person, right? Because that's the idea of success.
there's not a love for the school. There's not a love for the community because they don't come from the community. The teachers don't necessarily come from this community.
I see a lot of my colleagues who don't care as much anymore, whether that's my perception or the student's perception. In my experience, teachers did care, used to care, and cared a lot about what they did.
It affects a lot that you lose concentration and makes you not even want to go to school.
I would say that a lot of students and a lot of teachers and probably a lot of administrators do not want to be here. And there's kind of a lowering of expectations. If I was in this environment as a 9th grader like how they are, I would not have graduated.
If we don't get serious and properly fund our school system and give the students, the individual students, based on their needs, what they should have to learn the standards that we've set, they're not going to make it. And if they don't make it, the state won't make it.
But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. So we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice.
Did you hear about the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete? Proving nature's laws, we're going to learn how to walk without having feet. Funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams, it learned to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from concrete when no one else even cared.